There comes a moment in life when we all have to face them. People who drain our energy, challenge our peace, and trigger the worst in us. Toxic people. The truth is, they don't always show up with warning signs. Sometimes they come dressed as friends, coworkers, even family. But smart people, they don't just react, they rise. When toxic people show up, smart people stay grounded. They don't let the storm dictate their behavior. They remember who they are. They don't mirror the chaos. They reflect calm, because real strength is found in restraint, not retaliation. Smart people never engage in battles that don't need to be fought. Toxic people want one thing: control. And control is a game of reaction. If you react emotionally, they win, but when you pause, when you breathe, when you choose your response with intention, you're not just showing maturity, you're showing leadership. Boundaries are not walls, they're doors with locks, and smart people know how to use the key. When someone crosses the line, they don't scream, they clarify. They say, this is not okay. They don't wait for others to respect their space. They define it, they protect it, and they uphold it. And here's the most powerful tool smart people use: curiosity. Instead of fueling the fire, they ask, what's really happening here? Why is this person acting this way? And most importantly, what part of me is being triggered by it? See, it's not about giving toxic people excuses. It's about giving yourself insight. You can't lead anyone, especially yourself, without understanding. Energy is everything. Smart people treat it like an investment. Not everyone gets access. It's not everyone gets a seat at the table of your time. Just because someone is loud doesn't mean they deserve your attention. Smart people don't fight to be right. They fight to stay aligned with their purpose, with their values, with their peace. And when all else fails, when the energy is too heavy, the drama too consistent, the cost too high, smart people walk away. Not because they're weak, but because they are wise enough to know that peace is more valuable than proving a point. That their time is more sacred than any argument. That their mental health is not up for negotiation. Because at the end of the day, what defines you is not what you faced, it's how you faced it. And smart people, they don't let toxic people change their character, they let them reveal it. When toxic people show up, the smartest thing you can do is stay grounded in your values. That sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful choices a person can make. Because in the face of manipulation, passive aggression, or outright cruelty, our natural instinct is to defend, to strike back, or to match that energy. But that's exactly what toxic people want. They want to pull you out of alignment with yourself. They want to get under your skin and make you react in ways that don't reflect who you truly are. That's why staying grounded is not just a mindset, it's a form of leadership. Your values are your compass. They're the foundation that guides how you show up in every situation. When you're clear on what matters to you, kindness, honesty, respect, patience, you don't get tossed around by other people's storms. You become the calm in the chaos. Toxic people might try to provoke you, insult you, or guilt you into making decisions you'll regret, but when you're grounded, you have a filter. You ask yourself, is this response aligned with who I want to be? That single question creates space, and space gives you power. Staying grounded doesn't mean you're passive. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you, quite the opposite. It means you hold your boundaries with strength, not with rage. It means you choose your words with care, not with venom, and in doing so, you protect your peace without compromising your principles. Toxic people often rely on unpredictability. They bring confusion into conversations. They distort facts, shift blame, play the victim, and it's easy to get caught up in that web, especially when you're emotionally invested. But smart people recognize that you don't have to play every game you're invited to. When you're rooted in your values, you can observe without absorbing. You can hear the manipulation, feel the tension, and still decide to respond with dignity. That's strength. That's clarity. That's emotional intelligence and action. Think about how trees survive storms. The wind blows, the rain pours, but they remain upright not because they're rigid, but because their roots go deep. That's how values work. They anchor you when life gets loud. When someone tries to belittle you, your value of self-respect reminds you, I don't need to engage with this. When someone spreads gossip, your value of integrity reminds you, I choose truth over drama. When someone brings bitterness, your value of compassion reminds you, I don't have to match their pain, I can rise above it. But here's the thing, your values only work for you if you know what they are. Smart people take time to define them. They write them down, they reflect on them often. They use them to make decisions. Because in the moment, when emotions are high, you won't have time to figure it out. You'll either default to your values or fall into someone else's dysfunction. That's why grounding yourself is a daily practice. It's not a one-time choice. It's a way of being. So when a toxic person shows up, don't ask how to outsmart them. Ask how to stay true to yourself. That's the real win, because at the end of the day, you can't control how others behave, but you can control who you become in the process. And when you choose to act from your values, even in the face of negativity, you don't just protect your peace, you elevate the entire environment around you. That's what smart people do. One of the most common traps toxic people set is the power struggle. They push buttons, create tension, and provoke reactions, not because they're seeking resolution, but because they're seeking control. And the moment you take the bait, the moment you feel the need to prove something, to win the argument, or to outmaneuver them, you've stepped into their territory. Smart people understand this. They know that not every challenge deserves a response, and not every battle is worth fighting. So they don't engage in power struggles, not because they're afraid to fight, but because they've already won by choosing peace. Power struggles are often disguised as debates, disagreements, or emotional confrontations. Toxic people will twist words, change narratives, and escalate minor issues to create chaos. Why? Because chaos gives them the upper hand. If they can throw you off balance, if they can pull you into an emotional reaction, they've succeeded in shifting the focus from their behavior to your response. Smart people don't allow that. They see the game for what it is and they choose not to play. Avoiding power struggles doesn't mean staying silent or being submissive. It means staying calm and keeping control of your response. It's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to be louder to be right. It's the strength to pause, breathe, and decide how to respond, not for them, but for yourself. Because true power isn't found in domination, it's found in self-mastery. Toxic people feed off emotional energy. The more reactive you become, the more they feed. That's why smart people stay composed. They don't raise their voice just because someone else did. They don't throw insults just because someone tried to provoke them. They understand that emotional maturity is not about suppressing feelings, it's about managing them. It's about knowing that your peace isn't up for auction every time someone else throws a tantrum. When you refuse to engage in a power struggle, you take the oxygen out of the fire. You remove the fuel that toxic people need to keep the drama going. It's like walking away from a chessboard mid-game. They may try to mock you for it. They may call you weak or accuse you of avoiding the truth. But smart people don't seek validation from chaos. They don't explain themselves to people committed to misunderstanding them. They simply walk away, not because they can't win, but because the cost of winning isn't worth their energy. Smart people also understand that engaging in a power struggle doesn't just damage the relationship, it damages the self. It pulls you out of alignment with your values. It clouds your clarity. It replaces logic with emotion and purpose with ego. And once ego is in the driver's seat, it's easy to lose sight of what really matters. That's why emotional discipline is a superpower. It's the ability to say, I see what you're doing, and I'm not going there. Refusing to engage is an act of emotional intelligence. It's not passive, it's not avoidance, it's strategy. It's knowing that some situations don't require a louder voice, but a wiser mind. It's recognizing that silence can be stronger than argument, that walking away can be more powerful than standing your ground in the wrong place. So, when toxic people show up looking for a fight, don't give them what they're looking for. Give them what they didn't expect. Grace, restraint, and detachment. That's where real power lives. Not improving someone wrong, but improving to yourself that you're no longer available for petty battles. You got more important things to protect, like your peace, your time, and your purpose. When toxic people enter your life, one of the smartest things you can do is set clear and healthy boundaries. Boundaries aren't about being cold, distant, or aggressive. They're about clarity. They are the lines we draw to protect our time, energy, and emotional well-being. Smart people understand that boundaries aren't a form of punishment. They are a form of self-respect. And when done right, they actually strengthen relationships by creating a space of mutual understanding and respect. Toxic individuals often thrive in environments where boundaries are blurry or non-existent. They test limits subtly at first. An offhand comment here, a manipulative request there, and before you know it, you're doing things out of guilt, walking on eggshells, or constantly justifying your needs. That's why smart people don't wait until things spiral. They're proactive. They don't assume people will just know what's acceptable. They communicate it early and clearly. Setting boundaries starts with self-awareness. Smart people know what they're available for and what they're not. They take the time to understand what drains them, what uplifts them, and where their limits are. They don't apologize for needing space, time, or respect. They don't feel guilty for protecting their energy because they know that when you don't set boundaries, you end up resenting the very people you're trying to please. But here's the truth. Setting boundaries with toxic people isn't always easy. They often resist, push back, or make you feel like you're the problem. They may say things like, you've changed, or you're being selfish. But smart people don't let guilt override their growth. They understand that discomfort is part of the process. Not everyone will like your boundaries, especially those who benefited from you not having any, and that's okay. The key is to be firm but kind. Boundaries don't need to be loud or aggressive. You don't have to justify, over-explain, or argue. A simple, clear statement like, I'm not available for this conversation right now, or am I not comfortable being spoken to that way is powerful. It sends a message. I value myself enough to speak up. And once the boundary is set, smart people hold it. Consistency is everything. A boundary that's not enforced is just a suggestion, and toxic people don't honor suggestions. Healthy boundaries also teach others how to treat you. They let people know what you tolerate and what you don't. They filter your circle. The people who respect your boundaries are the ones who are truly meant to be in your life. The ones who fight them were never really for you. They were for your silence, your availability, your compliance. Smart people also understand that boundaries are not just external. They're internal too. It's not just about saying no to others. It's about saying no to yourself when you're tempted to overextend, to people please, or to sacrifice your peace for temporary approval. They practice self-discipline. They remind themselves, I'm not going to chase validation, or I won't argue with someone who is committed to misunderstanding me. These inner boundaries are what help them stay grounded when things get messy. In the end, boundaries are a declaration of what you believe you're worth. And smart people know they are worth peace, they are worth respect, they are worth relationships that don't come with anxiety, guilt, or confusion. So when toxic people try to cross the line, smart people draw it again, and this time in permanent ink. Because once you learn how to protect your peace, you'll never be willing to live without it again. When toxic people show up, the natural reaction is to get defensive, to protect ourselves, to guard our pride, to push back. But smart people take a different approach. They stay curious. They don't jump into fight mode. They lean in with questions, not accusations. They listen not to agree, but to understand. That shift in mindset, staying curious instead of defensive, is what separates emotional reactivity from emotional intelligence. Toxic behavior often triggers something inside us. It pokes at old wounds, insecurities, or unmet needs. When someone criticizes, manipulates, or gaslights, it's easy to react by defending ourselves or proving them wrong. But smart people pause. They don't just react. They reflect. They ask themselves, why is this bothering me so much? What is this really about? That kind of curiosity isn't weakness, it's self-awareness. Defensiveness builds walls. Curiosity builds perspective. When you're defensive, you're focused on protecting your ego. When you're curious, you're focused on learning something, even if that something is just more about who you're dealing with. Smart people know that the goal isn't to win the conversation. The goal is to remain aligned with their values and to gather enough insight to make better decisions about how they engage, or if they engage at all. It's incredibly disarming to respond to conflict with a calm question. Instead of saying, you're wrong, you ask, can you help me understand what you mean? That doesn't mean you're agreeing with them. It means you're keeping control of the conversation. Toxic people often want you to match their emotion. They thrive on chaos. But when you choose curiosity, you shift the energy, you slow things down, you force them to either clarify or reveal the truth behind their behavior. Smart people also stay curious about themselves. They use these encounters as mirrors. If someone's words hurt more than expected, they explore why. Was there a part of it that touched something unresolved? Was there a pattern being repeated? Curiosity becomes a tool for self-growth, not just a response to conflict. And in that process, they become more self-aware, more emotionally resilient, and more in control of their reaction. Here's something powerful. Curiosity also gives you options. Defensiveness narrows your view. It's black or white, right or wrong. But curiosity opens doors. You can choose to walk away. You can choose to reframe the situation. You can choose to respond with empathy or to simply observe and make mental notes. Toxic people lose their power when they can't control your reactions. Curiosity keeps you in the driver's seat. When you're constantly defending yourself, you're always in a state of tension. You're always preparing for battle. But curiosity is lighter. It says, I don't need to carry this energy. I just need to understand what's happening and decide what to do with it. That's how smart people stay unshaken. They don't carry every emotional punch. They observe it, ask why it happened, and let it go if it doesn't serve them. Even in the heat of confrontation, smart people ask themselves, what's this person's goal? What's mine? What outcome am I working toward? That awareness keeps the focus on progress, not pride. And when you stay curious, you give yourself a pause, a sacred space between trigger and response. In that space, you choose how you want to show up. That's where power lives. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, don't default to defense. Default to curiosity. Ask a question, reflect, step back. Because the smartest people in the room aren't the ones who shout the loudest, they're the ones who stay calm, stay aware, and stay in control of themselves. Smart people understand that energy is one of the most valuable resources they have, and unlike money, once it's spent, it doesn't come back as easily. That's why when toxic people show up, smart people don't react impulsively, they pause and ask a deeper question. Is this person worth my energy? Because every moment spent in frustration, defensiveness, or emotional chaos is a moment taken away from growth, peace, and purpose. And smart people guard that trade-off carefully. Not everyone deserves access to you. Just because someone demands your attention doesn't mean you owe it to them. Just because someone is loud doesn't mean they matter more. Smart people don't respond to everyone who knocks, they're selective. They've learned sometimes the hard way that pouring energy into people who only take, manipulate, or drain leaves you running on empty. And when you're empty, you can't be your best self for your goals, your loved ones, or yourself. Toxic people often operate like energy thieves. They create confusion, drama, guilt, and urgency, all designed to pull you in and to keep you hooked, to make you feel responsible for their emotions or problems. But smart people recognize the pattern. They understand the difference between someone going through a hard time and someone who is a chronic source of chaos. And once they recognize it, they stop overgiving, they stop explaining themselves, they stop feeding the cycle. Choosing who gets your energy is an act of self-respect. It's not about being selfish, it's about being intentional. It's saying, I have limited emotional bandwidth and I'm going to use it where it counts. That might mean stepping back from a conversation that's going nowhere. It might mean declining an invitation that comes with emotional strings attached. It might even mean ending a relationship that consistently leaves you feeling worse, not better. Smart people understand that boundaries protect energy, and boundaries aren't about others, they're about you. But here's where it gets deeper. Smart people also look inward. They ask, where am I leaking energy? Sometimes it's not just a toxic person who's draining you. It's your guilt, your overthinking, your need to please or fix or be understood. Energy isn't just lost in action, it's lost in rumination. That's why smart people do the inner work. They journal, they reflect, they get honest about the emotional patterns that keep them stuck, and they start reclaiming their power, one choice at a time. Choosing where your energy goes also means choosing how you respond. You don't have to clarify every misunderstanding. You don't have to fight for your character in rooms where it's already been misjudged. Smart people let go of that need. They stop performing for people who are committed to misreading them. They invest their time and attention in what brings them closer to peace, purpose, and alignment. And when you start choosing your energy wisely, everything changes. You stop feeling chronically exhausted. You stop feeling resentful. You stop feeling like your life is being dictated by other people's drama. You start feeling lighter, clearer, more empowered. You start showing up more fully in the spaces that actually matter. That's the real reward. So the next time someone tries to bait you into unnecessary conflict or drain your emotional tank with guilt, chaos, and manipulation, pause. Ask yourself, is this how I want to spend my energy today? If the answer is no, walk away. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. The strongest people aren't the ones who fight the most battles. They're the ones who know which battles are even worth their breath. Smart people choose wisely. Smart people know when to walk away, not because they're weak, but because they're strong enough to recognize when a situation, a relationship, or a conversation is no longer serving their well-being. Walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing growth over chaos, peace over pride, and clarity over confusion. When toxic people show up, the smartest thing you can sometimes do is stop engaging, step back, and move on. There's a myth that strength means staying and enduring no matter how damaging a situation becomes. That if you walk away, you're quitting or being disloyal. But smart people understand that staying in the wrong place for too long doesn't make you loyal, it makes you stuck. It wears you down, it chips away at your self-worth. And at some point, you're no longer holding the relationship together, you're holding yourself hostage. Toxic people are skilled at creating emotional loops. One day they're charming, the next they're cold. They offer just enough validation to keep you hoping, but never enough consistency to feel safe. And in that cycle, it's easy to stay because you're chasing closure, understanding, or change. But smart people know that not every situation deserves a second chance. Not every person deserves a front row seat to your life. They recognize when a conversation is going nowhere, when the apology is just another manipulation, or when the effort is one-sided, and they stop giving more to something that keeps taking. Walking away takes courage. It means facing the discomfort of the unknown. It means letting go of the version of the relationship you hoped it could be and accepting what it actually is. It's one of the hardest emotional decisions a person can make because it requires choosing reality over fantasy, truth over potential. But smart people do it not because it's easy, but because it's necessary for growth. They also walk away from arguments that don't lead anywhere. Toxic people often bait you into fights that have no resolution. They twist your words, deflect blame, and turn everything into a personal attack. Smart people don't waste their breath trying to win battles where the goalposts keep moving. They understand that peace is more valuable than being right. They know when to disengage, not out of defeat, but out of wisdom. And it's not just about walking away from people, it's about walking away from patterns, from environments that drain you, from habits that keep you in cycles of self-betrayal. Smart people look at the bigger picture. They ask themselves, is this helping me grow, or is it holding me back? And if the answer is clear, they act on it. Because self-awareness without action is just knowledge unused. Walking away is a form of self-trust. It says, I believe I deserve better than this. It says, I'm not afraid to be alone if it means I get to be in peace. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, a decision you make in your heart before your feet ever move. But it's powerful. And once you walk away from something that's been weighing you down, you start to feel it, the lightness, the freedom, the return of energy you didn't even know you were losing. Smart people don't chase closure from those who hurt them. They create it for themselves. They don't stay to prove a point. They leave to protect their peace. They know that walking away doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough about yourself to stop shrinking to fit a space that was never meant for you. And when you learn to walk away with grace, not anger, you send a message to the world and to yourself. I know my worth. I choose my peace. I don't need to stay to matter. That's what smart people do.